What is going on, everybody? I'm your boy, Fatal Mephisto, and welcome back to a brand spanking new video. I'm making this into a solo video. I literally talked about all of this there last night on the podcast. Again, thank you for everyone who showed up in the podcast last night. It was the best amount of viewers I had watching my podcast last night that I've ever had on my channel. So again, I hope that I keep seeing that, and I hope to God to keep growing that, because that was freaking awesome. But I wanted to make this into a standalone video because I feel that this definitely needs to be talked about, and I definitely feel that this definitely needs to be addressed. So the other day, we were doing in the podcast for the Roundtable Discord, and my God, there was a lot of things that was said on the show. I was on the actual show. I was in the podcast and everything too as well, but I barely really said anything because, to be fair, I don't want to say I don't have a place on that show, because I do. I just don't, like, when it comes to me talking about specific things that I hear, things that I see with my own two eyes, and whatever the case may be, it generally falls on deaf ears, and I hate saying that, but it kind of does, because it literally does that for everybody that I try to explain this stuff to. But I wanted to go ahead and make a video and discussing a couple of the things that I have heard, and not so much debunk them, but kind of give you guys a little bit of an insight on why these sayings are not quite accurate. So right off the bat, let me go ahead and we'll just jump right into this, because I don't want to make this video overly long, because there is a clip that I'm going to be playing too as well, and that's about 4.5 minutes long. So I don't want that to overstay its welcome, if you know what I mean. So the first thing I want to go ahead and address is the whole entire aspect. Is Game Pass a failure because it only managed to reach 25 million within the last 4 years since Game Pass originated from back in 2017? To answer that question, it's very, very simple. No, it is not a failure at all, period, because if you go and you look at the actual history of Netflix itself, for when Netflix first came out in 2017, or not 2017, sorry, in 2005, when it started off as a rental service, leading into the streaming aspect in 2007, or was it 2017 when the actual thing started for streaming? I think it was 2017, I believe. I can't remember what year it was. But either way, when a new streaming service comes out, it takes time to build up. Unless you're a big, big company like Disney skyrocketed. But again, we're talking about a company like Disney, who is a family-known company and everybody knows who the fuck Disney is. Game Pass is definitely something that was going to start off a very, very slow trend. Because people have to understand and remember, Game Pass itself, when it first launched, did not launch day and date. That did not come into fruition until the following year in 2018. It was announced in 2017 that they were going to be doing that, but it didn't even start, though, until 2018 with games like Sea of Thieves and State of Decay 2 launching day one and whatnot. But going back and you look at the history of Netflix back in 2005, all the way up until given day, yeah, Netflix is rocking right now with over 200 freaking subscribers. Game Pass will probably never end up seeing those numbers in the foreseeable future. However, what it is doing, though, it is actually growing pretty goddamn quickly compared to what Netflix did when they first started off. Because if you look at the numbers of actual subscribers, it took Netflix quite a while even to get close to 25 million of active active subscribers, memberships, so to speak, for Netflix. And you can see from the chart here, this chart is actually public. You can go on Netflix's website and see it. That's why it's also on the Wikipedia as well. That it took at least couple of years actually to reach. From 2005 to 2011 is when they finally broke 20 million actual subscribers. That's a long time. Did that make Netflix a failure? No, obviously not, because they're now an actual juggernaut today. Game Pass is going to be the same thing. It's going to start off very, very slow. Once Microsoft starts getting first-party games coming out every quarter, and they keep that momentum going for as long as they can. Yes, I'm aware that a lot of these games are still in development. I understand that. Whatever. I can make that into an entirely different video, and I think I might actually add to that in a separate video after in the foreseeable future. But I wanted to bring this up because I want people to understand that a service takes time to grow. You know what I mean? Especially with what you're offering, your content you're offering. And right now, the content that Microsoft is offering on Game Pass, be it mainly strictly when it comes to day-and-date indie titles, it is enough for people to actually want to subscribe, but not enough for everyone to want to really actually jump on board. I get that part. But on top of that, though, once these first-party games start flowing out on a quarterly rate and we start getting more first-party games yearly, that's when you're going to start to see that number really start to go up a lot more quicker. But again, we're also talking about another side of the actual spectrum, right, where Netflix doesn't sell the actual movies and the actual their own original content, at least from what I understand. I don't think they do, unless they do it in, like, seasons on Blu-rays and stuff like that, maybe. I could be wrong. More likely, I probably am wrong on that. But the point is, what I'm trying to say is, though, is that these series do not come out in theaters and they don't come out in, Blu-ray or DVDs as solo standalone things day one when Netflix releases these actual original shows or movies. Game Pass does this. It actually has to fucking satisfy both consumers who buy it and consumers who want to play it on the service. Now, listen, I am totally aware that people think that Game Pass does not sell. People don't buy games on the service, all that cool jazz. And here's the problem. Yes, they do sell. But with not us having numbers to identify or verify these, a lot of people automatically assume that these games do not sell. I wouldn't really actually sit there and say that they don't. Maybe from a console perspective, we definitely have a hard time seeing it, even though you can easily go into the storefront and see how well these games are doing. I'll give you a prime example. Right now, over on the Xbox side, there's the infamous saying that, Game Pass is a failure, blah, 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 that definitely needs to have its own situation be broadened because right now Halo Infinite is an utter failure. But in actuality, they're only going based on the numbers on Steam. They're not going based on what placement or how many people are playing it via Game Pass on Xbox. But here's the problem with that statement, though. The free-to-play model is not part of Game Pass. It never has, and nor it never will be part of Game Pass. So here's my question to everyone that thinks that Halo is officially dead. If Halo was dead, why is it sitting right now in 10th place in top free games and it's still sitting above Destiny 2? So if people are telling you that Halo Infinite is dead, then therefore Destiny 2 on Xbox is officially dead, which we already know that's complete and utter bullshit. So the whole entire Steam numbers, man, is nothing more than a cop-out, blatant lie of an answer to try to downward and try to bring down a game that people are thoroughly enjoying. If you think Halo Infinite is the worst game you've ever played in the Halo franchise, then cool. You know what I mean? I can't say nothing about that, and I can't rebuttal against that because that's your opinion. But at the end of the day, Halo is definitely not dead because if it's sitting above freaking Destiny on the Xbox store, then you can literally sit there and say that Destiny 2 is also dead as well alongside Halo. But regardless of all that crap, though, it's here or there. It's here or there. But one of my biggest issues that I have, right, is the infamous saying is that, Microsoft's not going to invest a lot of money into these games because they're going to have to be cold cut breakdown games, blah, 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 because, just look at the games they've actually released into the actual service, day-and-date games, blah, 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 blah. When you really analyze and you look at all the games that have launched into the service day and date, from Sea of Thieves to State of Decay to Crackdown 3 to Halo Infinite and Gears 5 and all that crap like that and Forza Horizon, all these games, minus, I think, two of them, that being Battletoads and, of course, Bleeding Edge, didn't have or were already in development pre-freaking lifetime cycle of Game Pass. Now, of course, you may also sit there and think to yourself, well, they could have easily changed direction of development. Fatal, that happens constantly, right? And I agree, 100%. 100%. But when you look at a game like Halo Infinite, right, when the multiplayer is a standalone free-to-play game that's not attached to a service like Game Pass, whereas the campaign is the only thing you get access to on Game Pass unless you buy it outright, There's a glaring problem. The problem being is, while yes, co-op is definitely missing out of the actual campaign, the campaign still delivers exactly what it's doing, giving you a full-fledged Halo story that a lot of fans actually thoroughly enjoyed. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it, you know what I mean? And also got me to go back and replay a lot of the older games that I never got a chance to play on, get me more invested into the world of Halo and everything too as well. I'm still watching the actual show, which everybody fucking flat out hates. I get that part too as well. I'm not going to argue that. But what I will say is, though, is do I think that game, like, do I think that a game like Halo Infinite is a prime example of what they're doing within the world of Game Pass? My answer to that is an emphatic no, because given the fact that Halo Infinite has already been through launch development bullshit since the very inception the game was created. I mean, 343 has already confirmed this, and whatever the case may be. So, no, I don't think that has to do with anything like that. But at the same time, when these people tell you, like, oh, look at the way State of Decay 2 launched. State of Decay 2, before Microsoft bought out Undead Labs and before all the controversy that's currently going on right now to this day, State of Decay 2 is an indie game, an indie development game. Now that Microsoft owns them, and of course, once they clear up all that the allegations that's currently going on right now with Undead Labs, you really honestly are going to sit there and tell me that Microsoft is not going to invest more money into a game like the third installment of State of Decay when State of Decay 3 has already been confirmed that it will be fucking running on Unreal 5? Like, I don't understand that analogy. I've also heard people tell me that Microsoft has not invested money into these studios. Bullshit. That is absolute not true at all, period. When Ninja Theory freaking already had a brand new studio that opened up there no more than 2 years ago. Microsoft's been investing money left and right and hiring people. Yeah, I'm aware of the whole entire initiative freaking crisis that's going on. Yes, I'm aware of that. But I mean, Obsidian has grown, like almost double in size. In Exile has grown. You know, Microsoft actually helped to make freaking Wasteland 3 more polished and whatever the case may be, and it definitely freaking shows when that game launched back in 2020 in August. The list goes on. If Microsoft didn't give a shit about us as consumers and didn't care about releasing any of these games, why in nebulous hell would they invest in these companies? Why would they open new studios for these companies? Why would they hire people for these companies? Why would they tease people trailers and not give them anything? Like, that makes no sense. A business doesn't do that. At least I'm hoping that businesses don't do that. Because that makes no freaking sense to me. That legit makes no sense. But, going back to the most famous thing that people freaking always tell me. That Game Pass is not going to be profitable. Game Pass is not sustainable. Blah, blah, blah. Even though the answer is immediately in front of their face, but of course, they won't actually ever tell people this because it goes against their whole entire aspect of gamers don't buy games, right? And that's not kind of true. I mean, it is, but it isn't. It's mostly true, but it's not, if that makes sense. And the reason why I'm saying that it's not is because people ignore sales on Steam. We want to sit out here and tout that Microsoft is a third-party company, they're multi-platform, blah, 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 but they don't want to acknowledge when games sell extremely well on Steam. For example, back at the end in December of last year, when Rare came out and basically said that Steam, or that Sea of Thieves had officially sold over 5 million copies on Steam. So 5 million copies on Steam, along with however many units the game sold from a console perspective, you really gonna sit there and tell me with a straight fucking face, man, that these first party games that go on there, like, are not sustainable? Like, that makes no sense. Like, State of Decay was number 1 on Steam for months. Halo Infinite was on Steam, freaking number 1 on, or in the top 10 on Steam for months. So I really have to question that. Now, I could be completely wrong on that. I could be completely wrong on that, but I'm just giving it to you from what I see and from what I've been hearing. You know what I mean? And I think these games are going to be fine. Like, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff like that. And I think that a lot of people just need to kind of like sit back and like really observe everything that's fucking going on before coming out and saying that, oh, this is bad for the industry. Even though there's been multitude of evidence that proves that this is not the case. That kind of shit like that. And in fact, which leads me into the video clip that I want to show you guys. And that is an interview that IGN did last year, or a little while back, in related to, or an interview with Phil Spencer. Now, I cut this clip up. And of course, listen, I should have made this disclaimer at the beginning of the video, and I forgot to, so whatever the case may be, but I'm also going to add it in the description. I'm fully aware that people are going to definitely shun me alive for doing this video, and that's fine. I accept that. But again, I'm not here to damage control anything. I'm just here to give you my thoughts and stuff that I see, read, and hear. And, you know what I mean? I'm going strictly based on that. Now, whether you want to believe this or whether you want to believe these as not being fucking facts or whatever the case may be, then you do yourself, dude, man. Like, I'm not going to argue with you. That's not my end goal here. You know what I mean? Like, I use the service actively. I love the service, man, but I'm also supporting games outside of that. I'm buying a lot of stuff on the actual storefront outside of the service. So, I mean, I'm Gucci with that. But this video is to kind of let people know that a lot of these things that people are saying, man, while they hold weight, but aren't necessarily true, if that makes sense. But regardless of that, then let me go ahead and shut my mouth. I'm going to play this clip real quick, and I want you to pay attention to what Phil says, because even though I really can't pause it, I will be, like, you know, addressing a couple of key things that he says in this video. So here we go.
So, Phil, if for anybody out there betting how long it would take us to bring up Game Pass in the interview, well, if you bet like the first 5 questions, congratulations, you win. So I do have a Game Pass question that I see so many people. Obviously, Game Pass is a huge point of discussion. It's a huge win for you guys. The service is really hitting its stride now. But at the same point, I see a lot of confusion out there, or maybe just a lack of clarity about the economics of it for either Microsoft and or the developers themselves. So I know you can't share like specific percentages or numbers, but I'm curious if you could honestly explain like how it works from a business perspective for Microsoft, and maybe as just a template, you know, pretend developer. So I know there are multiple types of arrangements there, right?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, for us, the goal around Game Pass has always been to make more games more accessible to more people. Like, that is the goal. It's not to turn everybody into a subscriber. Nowhere in our mission statement at Xbox is to say everybody needs to become a subscriber. We want it to be an option for people on our platform. Some people will buy games. We think that's fantastic. Some people will play free-to-play games. That's also great. And we think a content-based subscription has a place in our industry. And I'm proud of the work that the Game Pass team has done. From an economic standpoint, I see the same chatter, like, is it profitable? How does it work for us? It's pretty straightforward. We invest in our first-party games. We invest in specific third-party deals to bring games into Game Pass. Game Pass is obviously a revenue stream. We have subscribers, and those subscribers are paying money every month, and that creates a revenue pool for us in Game Pass, and that's a fairly large number at this point. In addition, those games sell on our platform. They're in our stores, whether it's on Windows or on console or now with cloud. Out there as well. So when we look at the economics of Game Pass, it's not just how many games is this subscriber playing in the subscription, and if they would have purchased those games or some number of those games, you know, what's the trade-off on purchase versus subscriber revenue? We never really look at it that way. What we do is we say, are we growing the number of players on our platform, and are they playing more often? And from that activity, we see the business grows. The number one metric that we can look at to see if our business is actually growing is, are people playing more on the platform? There's nothing about review score. There's nothing about retail sales of console or retail sales of games. The number one sign that our platform is healthy and growing is actually engagement on the platform from players, and that is what Game Pass is growing. So our business continues to grow and continues to be profitable at Xbox. And we're very proud of that. Like, it's an important part of what we do. Now, as a third-party developer, It depends really on where you are in the journey. And this is why it gets kind of difficult.
Yeah.
If you're building a game and you're just now starting and you think you might have a Game Pass game or look at Game Pass as an option, you'll come to us early. And in those cases, just like us doing kind of what people term as a second party deal of us going and maybe funding something for platform exclusivity. Now we have this option with people where we can say, this is not about taking that game away from another platform. We can help you get your game to market. And really what we want is to have it in the subscription. You should feel free to sell that in the other marketplaces and other platforms that you want to go sell it. That's an option. Certain times people are looking at their back catalog. They've already finished games. In that case, the economics are different. It's a game that maybe they've already sold the kind of initial year or whatever of sales, and they're looking at their windowing strategy with their category, their content, and saying, how do they actually monetize content that's a little bit older? And Game Pass can be an option as well there. The thing I think you should look at to see if it's working for third parties is how many third parties repeat into the subscription. How many games have come into the subscription and then their next iteration has come in. You can look at Yakuza, you can look at these games. And if it wasn't working for the third parties, they have other things that they would go do with their games and they wouldn't end up in the subscription. So I look at the repeats from our both publishers and studios as a great sign that it's working for both players and creators.
So, okay, let me go ahead and break down a couple of the things that he basically said in this video. First and foremost, everybody's going to sit there and say, oh yeah, he said Game Pass game. He said Game Pass game. Relax. But that out of the way, literally, like what he just said at the end of that video, right, about these developers that are constantly, putting their games on the service and repeating, putting games on the service. I see this all the freaking time because I pay attention to what goes in and what goes out of the service. You know what I mean? I kind of have to in order to be able to justify my purchase per month on what I want. You know what I mean? That's coming in and coming out of the service. But yes, like Paradox Interactive has released several games on the service day one and or actually using the service actively to put their games up there. Square Enix is doing it. A lot of these devs have been repeating themselves by putting their games on the service, whether it be day and date or a later release, that kind of thing like that. And like Phil said, if the service was that bad and these publishers / developers weren't seeing any form of return back or weren't seeing any kind of thing that would benefit them, they would not repeat themselves so many times to have their games be put on a service. It just, that doesn't make any sense to a business standpoint for the companies. You get the idea. Like, it's retarded. But so clearly something's working there. But again, like, you don't see anybody that sits there and says how bad this service is. You never hear them actually tell people that. And I feel that a lot of people are misleading customers and misleading other individuals to try to get them to not support something that is supposedly bad, but it's actually not bad at all. That kind of stuff like that. And PlayStation, with the new PS Plus stuff that's going to be implemented here relatively soon, definitely is a key factor that's going to, change up the way people look at services. Yeah, sure, they may not put their day and date software up there from first party, but you could damn well expect to see indies and other publisher games go up there day and date too as well. I mean, shit, we've already seen it now with last month, or for the month of March having, this month with Shadow Warrior 3 going up on the actual PS Now service day one, mind you. So the question is how many of those people are going to adapt to that? And I've seen a lot of people say they're not going to. They're just going to stick to PlayStation Essentials. That's fine. That's all, there's nothing wrong with that, you know what I mean? But now I'm seeing people saying that there's going to be more PlayStation Plus members than there are Game Pass members. And I'm really confused by that because if you're counting essential numbers, then what the hell was stopping you before from using regular PS Plus now, currently, to Game Pass, even though they're not the exact same service? I don't know. That shit just boggles my mind. But maybe just because I don't really quite understand what they're trying to get at. Maybe I don't know. But either way. Also during that video, I had put up the two different slides that came out back at GDC last month, talking about the engagement and the growth of the service. which I know a lot of people are going to, slag off and call bullshit and whatever the case may be. Listen, I get it. You know what I mean? I truly get it because a lot of people do not want this service to succeed. However, though, there's nothing you can do because it is going to succeed, whether you like it or not. Because if it wasn't going to succeed, Microsoft would actually bail the fuck out of it by now, and so would other developers too. Just saying. So, regardless of that, though, this video has been going on for too long, and I didn't want to make this too long, but it's almost a half hour long. All I want to tell you guys is listen, at the end of the day, if you don't give a shit about services, man, then don't use them. Straight up, period. They're not taking away the ability for you to buy these games. They're not taking away the ability for you to buy these games digitally. So if you have that big of a sentiment of not being part of a service that you think is so bad for the industry, then don't fucking support it. Period. Period. Buy the games instead. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do is buy these games instead. It's not hard. It's a simple, optional means, and if you don't want to use it, don't freaking use it. Period. And with that, I'm your boy, Fit. I'm Mephisto, man. Thank you for checking out this video. I know I'm going to get a lot of dislikes. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate in the comment section, man. Fine, I'm cool with that. But again, if you want to see some more original content, feel free to subscribe, man. I got more stuff coming down the pipeline, dude, and I will catch you guys here on the next one, man. I'm out. Deuces.